Welcome everyone again. So my name is Hasna Maroudi. I see a few new faces that I haven't seen the past 2 days. Who's new? So there are a lot of new faces. Just a quick round. Who are you? I'll hold the mic.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kees Lesuis, Artistic Director of the Oerol Festival in the Netherlands, and we will present in a moment.
Yeah.
So I will tell all about it.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Rob van Rijswijk, composer. Together with Kees, we will present our work.
Cool. Oh. You're pointing at him. I'm coming at you in a second.
Hi, I'm Grzegorz Reske. I'm Artistic Director of Spring Performing Arts Festival. And I will present after the break.
Yeah. And who's she?
Cathie Boyd.
Welcome. So my name is Hasna Maroudi. I'm a journalist. I'm a host. I run a feminist platform, Lilith Magazine, and I've been here the past 2 days talking with the Empty Now winners. But today it is a meetup, and we will be presenting different people and different works. But before we do so, we thought it would be nice to get you guys a little bit loosened up. So I'm going to ask you all to, yeah. You will be moving. You will not be dancing, but you will be moving. Just so you can all get to know each other a little bit better, I would like to ask you all to stand up. And you're going to be forming a long line alphabetically. So you will have to, yeah, by first names, So I would like to ask A to start over there and to end over there. So first name. So you will have to ask each other your names. Are you Zoe? Wat is je naam? Zora. Oh, nice name. Hi. Wow, you did it so fast. Yeah, and in a line. Cool. So the people that were sighing when I said I'm going to make you stand up, who was sighing? Who thought, oh no, I don't want to do this? And how do you feel about it now? You still don't want to do it? No. No, because you didn't like it. You get to pick one of the other orders. No, I'm just joking. I want to do one more, and that is want you to gather by which one should I do? Yeah, by title. So if you're a composer, you can stand in that corner. If you're a performer, I want you in the center of the stage. The performers. Artistic directors, I want them over there. And I think yeah, so that is the question. And then the others, the festival people can gather here. And if you haven't heard anything, you can gather over there. You're the other. The other. So find your peers. Oh, oké. Wat ben je ook?
Maar ik ben zakelijk leider. Dus
Oké, dan mag je hier.
bij deze
Ja, volgens mij wel. Other.
artistic.
Mhm. Are there no performers? Are you the composers are also performers, right? Yeah. Yeah. So after the pitches, it's okay. So after the pitches, you're going to be speed dating, I could say. But then now you already kind of know who's in your corner. So that's nice, right? Okay, then just one more, the last one. All the introverts over there and all the extroverts over there, please. Introverts over there, extroverts over there. All the introverted extroverts and extroverted introverts in the middle. So we only have 3 extroverts. Yeah. Extra extroverts, yeah. Thank you so much for making an effort and doing as I said. You can all find your seats again. Thank you. I love your glasses. Okay, so you're obviously not here to play games, but it's a nice way to start the day. And now you know who's sitting next to you and you don't have to be all awkward. Hi, how are you? Who are you? Where are you from? You know, you have a baseline. But to dive a little bit more deeper into who is here today, I would like to start with the pitches. And the first person I would like to call is Joost Heijthuijsen from O Festival. And he is presenting Leon, Rogissart and Paul Boereboom. So if Leon and Paul also want to join, I have 2 more mics here. Can I have a warm applause?
Welcome, Joost Heijthuijsen, festival dramaturg of O, and it's a pity that I couldn't be much more at this wonderful conference because we have shows running. And the first one is starting at 12 already. But what I've heard also, that artists really love that you're here and that you're bring this energy and also this critical approach to their work. So thank you for that very much. And as you might have seen, that O is really about giving and taking. It's about giving trust and taking risk. And one of the things that you really must put your money in are these 2 wonderful makers. Because it's something special. They just came from theater school in Amsterdam. They already are touring the VR world with their stuff. But we must keep them in the music theater field because this is the place where things are happening and where creative stuff is happening. Because if Richard Wagner would live today, he wouldn't build a theater, but he would buy a VR set and fuck with that. And I think these guys, they are working in the VR field. They are already award-winning also in the theater field. They got some great grants. They got some international partners. But if we can now give them trust and give them the right context, it will be something else. And please give the floor to them because they have a wonderful story to share.
Thank you.
I push myself through the peel, the mass, the void. sometimes gentle, sometimes with noise and acceleration, but always fluid, floating, forever floating.
Hello, everybody. I'm Leon. This is Paul. We graduated last year at the Academy for Theatre and Dance. Paul is a sonographer. I'm a theatre director. And we worked together to make this piece called Ascension. And Ascension is based on the concept of a floating tank. I don't know if people if they know it, but it's like a bath filled with salt where you can float on. And it brings you in a sort of subconsciousness in a really interesting state of being where you feel bodiless. We started to search with sound and image how we can facilitate a floating experience, but then in virtual reality.
Virtual reality offers us the possibility to create experiences that are both very personal and intimate, but also have a universal quality. It's like a new way to experience our world nowadays. And for us as makers, it is an extra attractive medium because we get to assign gravity, we get to assign density without limitations in volume or it's really our world. We can assign anything we want to, so that's extra attractive for us.
Ascension that we want to make now is a virtual reality / performative experience that we want to do for 40 goggles. 40 people are sitting in one big aesthetic circle. And in the middle we have Maria and Sean, that's our soprano and counter tenor. And live, we want to make the soundscape. You heard a small bit of it. We want to construct it live while people are sitting in the goggles in those spaces. The idea is that with the sound, we can guide you through a virtual landscape away from reality. But next to that, we also have a scenographical thing around it, like a sort of installation, that at the end, when this is finished, we continue 20 minutes longer and we want to guide you again back to reality with the scenography, with the installation, and with the sound. It's like a deconstruction from the soundscape to an aria about those two voices who bring you back to reality.
Yeah, and Ascension is being made for the O Festival and the Grote Post in Ostend, and the studio in Arenbeek in Antwerp. Check. Wrote it down so I won't forget. And also good to know that Ascension is an experience that also translates to venues outside of the regular black box or theater. So in Ostend we play on a regular stage, but in Antwerp we play in an old church. And we really believe that that is the strength of our sonography and also the soundscape that we adapt to the specific location that we play in for each instance. And we're going to create this work in the spring of 2023 in order to then have a tour subsequently later on in that year. And we are looking for partners and collaboration. So please feel free to hit us up and have a conversation, and we would love to meet you.
Thing why we wanted to present these artists now is also because we already have an international context with international co-producers, but doing developments into VR is quite expensive. But at the same time, when people ship in now, it also can be much more effective to do it together. And that's the real way of collaborating, in our opinion, giving you trust and also giving your audience experiences that they've never experienced before.
Yeah.
So are there questions?
Thank you. I have a question. Who of you owns a VR glasses? Who of you has ever used one? That's good to know, right? That there's already an audience for people, because it can be quite submersive, as you said. I was wondering, though, you said there's a 20 minutes after. Do the people take off their VR? And how big of a shock is it to get back to the real world?
That is exactly what we want to sort of help people to guide them back into the reality with like taking off the goggles, and then the entire sonography has changed. So we use theatrical means to change the space that we are in. So people really are gradually massaged back into reality by sound, lights, fog. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
So it's not like a hard cut. We really want people to.
And I saw a preview that they did in Amsterdam, and it's really having your state altered by this technology, and then that real human voice comes in afterwards. That makes total sense for both worlds.
Yeah. And there's also like a lot still for us to try out and to investigate. Like, do we want the singers to move around the people while they experience the VR, or do we want them to be really centered? That's all things that we need to investigate and to see what works best with what we want to make. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are there any questions from the audience? Wait. You got to catch this. And then talk into the mic, please.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Great. Virtual reality. When can we see you next? Where and when?
For now, we are developing this, and it's good. The first one is going to be May 23 in Austin. Yeah, that's the first one that is planned.
Might be good to know that we had, this is a work that we've been developing for a longer time now. And initially it was a setup for a single person to experience. So it was quite solitary. And then we had a tryout period in the studio in Antwerp. And then we tried it with 4 people. And that we were initially very much against that idea, because we were like, no, it's for one person. This totally messes with the concepts. But then when people came out of the experience, it was a setup for 4 persons. It was really nice to see that there was this sort of common ground of, can we speak already? What do you need? What did you experience? So this sort of tranquility and like really feeling like, can we connect already? Or what do you need? Was really beautiful. And that sort of triggered us to develop the work into a broader setting, actually, and also to help it not be like a hard cut, but to really guide the audience back into the real world, what is real.
Drop the phone.
Oops.
I wanted to ask, in the sense of, I think what you're going to be doing is going to be really immersive and an absolutely incredible experience for whoever goes through the experience. You said you're going to be using voices, and for me, what would be interesting is how you're going to explore, say, the world is what it is, and the voices sung in different parts of the world are sung different ways. Would you be looking at the diversifying the voices? So, say, for, in my case, I work with Indian classical musicians, and their voice and how they sing is different to a Western classical singing, and the language they may use, they may not use language at all. It may just be, you know, complete voice experimentation type of thing. Is that something that you would want to explore?
It's without language, and together I created together with the 2 singers on stage, and we tried to get as superficial and soundscape techno stretched wise as possible to really take a long distance from a real voice, and to break that down during the experience to really end in a classical singing, where we try to focus on dissonance and vibrations more than on.
So I'm thinking of that 13th, 14th century Drupad music is got no words, no nothing. It literally is the depth of how they use their voices and that kind of thing. So that to me would be a slightly shift from Western classical, but it still be relatable to an audience that's not necessarily from a white middle class or white Western listening voice, if you know what I mean.
I think so, because when I composed it, I always try to make a blend between Gregorian and Georgian music.
Okay.
Because I think there's a very interesting crossover in those two.
But also thank you for your question, because that was also the question that I've asked. Like, is it possible to work on this idea with local ensembles? The artists aren't not exactly sure about the idea, but I'm sure that they will talk afterwards about that, because that might open it.
Yeah.
So I would say you guys meet up afterwards.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So next up is Kees from Oerol Festival presenting Strijbos en Van Rijswijk.
Hello, Strijbos en Van Rijswijk, but it's only Rob. Yeah. Yes, please. I can tell from my point of view, I'll show you just some images from the festival I'm from, because a lot of you might not know it. It's a festival on an island. It's a multidisciplinary festival, theater, music, visual art, dance. And it has a history of 40 years. It's located in a natural reserve. It's only just a sneak preview after a movie from 2019, the last time we were able to do it. But in this 40 years, we developed all kinds of new relations to the landscape, and especially a new relation between landscape and contemporary music. We worked with Orkater, Veenfabriek, Ragazza Ensemble, Tuki Delphine, Cello Octet, Silberzee, Via Berlin, Kate Moore. Some of the names will resonate to you. And they really worked on site-specific work, which is quite difficult. You saw the beaches, and how do you play violin on a beach with a lot of wind? We managed to find ways with the artists to find new ways. Rob and Jeroen from Strijbos en Van Rijswijk, they went on our journey. And so one of the great projects, they developed really interesting landscape operas, and perhaps I give the mic to Rob.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks for inviting us. I am Rob. My colleague Jeroen Strijbos, he's in England right now because we are doing this work in Norfolk at Great Yarmouth Beach. Like Kees said, we like to work in public space or semi-public space, and we are composers, sound artists. And the thing we do is we sort of turn around, like the concert hall is made to make music sound good, right? But we go outside and we go to different spaces, and we think about how can we make a work sound good in this particular context. So that can be a rural context, an urban context. And therefore we also develop instruments, and we could start some photos. So this is Ter Schelling at Oerol, and we are trying out these speakers, which are stadium speakers, but you can use them as a musical instrument. No one else did it, but it's very good for voice, especially soprano voices. So then we thought of an architecture. So this is like 1 kilometer of beach, and you can really project very far. And this is how we try to develop a piece. Here you see the speakers on the poles. And the whole idea is not really about the music itself. We write, we compose, but it's about an encounter. It's the public in the landscape or in a particular context with the music, and what's happening there, that's the piece. So it's about placemaking. It's about you and the landscape and reflecting on it. Reflecting on yourself. This is in Irvine in Scotland with Cathie. The great thing is it's really a big piece. So it's not a small installation anymore, but it's maybe the most intimate work we've done, because you as a person, you are in the middle of this large sound field, and it makes you feel this tiny element. after the first year, we had a second year at Ural, and we did the piece with a live performance as well. So during the day, people could walk the beach, and in the night, we had sopranos bring the people on the stage, and the stage is the beach in this case. And that's a different approach, and people react to it differently, but it's great to bring people along in the landscape. This is in Graz. This is a partner of In Situ. So we also do it in the more urban areas. I think we can show the video. First 1 minute. So this was in 2018. So the sopranos, they have these megaphones, and they can sound very nice if you have a soprano singing it, you know. It's not this shouting sound, it's really a nice projecting sound. So we compose music especially for such large scale works because of course sound travels in the space, it needs time. So you need to think about this. So we really write specific music for this instrument, which are 24 long throw speakers, and every speaker is a voice, and when the voices come together, it's like a choir. And then the singers, they are like moving speakers in a way, and they move around. Could you switch back a bit to the photos? Is that possible, of Dagstein? Here, La Strada is a partner of the In Situ network where Ural is in, and we had the opportunity to do it on a glacier because the glacier is disappearing. So we can address this problem by bringing people there. Maybe you can switch to the next one. Here again, you see 1 kilometer, a walk, and you see the speakers and how they are directed. So we have to create this entire architecture. We do it on it was a great sound, great acoustics when you have a big rock in the back. There's a speaker in the right, there's a singer. And maybe we can do a little bit of the video. This was in the morning with sunset. Yeah, so and we also recorded the melting of the glacier. So we also used the particular local sounds, and this was part of a larger community work where in the valleys there were also works about the disappearing of the glacier. So
Yeah, and perhaps just to add that the way the audience is guided was also you worked with a choreographer. So we used like the Festival of Oerol to bring people together to work on this project, to find out how it's possible to conduct the people through such a landscape. Yeah, that's something we'd like to share with you. And if there's any questions,
Yeah. It's wonderful. I would have loved to be there, right? Yeah.
There will be many opportunities in the future.
Well, that was actually one of my first questions. You're presenting the work. Now we know the work. But what do you need? What do you want? Because it is a pitch.
well, I think what's nice is that we are not maybe selling this work. We are trying to have a collaboration, good collaborations. That's what we're interested in. And I think we have the means to tell a local story. So we have the concepts, we have the instruments, the technology. So that's what that's what we would like to create together, a work like this.
Yeah, so you're looking for partners, people that might know areas and places where you can set this up. Yeah.
This is one of the things, the ways they work in public space. There are also other projects they do with when you're guided with your phone. So it can be in city landscapes, it can be in big spaces, and there's some people who already worked with them. And we as a festival are looking for artists also who have ideas that they want to try out in a landscape. So that's a two question.
Yeah. And then just one more question, and then I'll get to the audience. Is, for instance, looking at the glacier, it looks amazing, and I would have loved to be there, but it's also difficult for certain people to get there. It's very specific, the target group. Do you think about what piece you play where? So whether it's on a glacier or on the beach, people with
Of course, it's the location and also the social situation is important. And like Cathie, we did in Irvine, it's a particular place where people may not go to art that quickly. So it was nice to do it there on the beach and have this encounter, create this encounter.
But also it's part of this collaboration between the artists and the organizer to address this and to see how to open it up for a bigger for a more
inclusive audience. Yeah.
And the work itself is really open to many forms. So you can have encounters also when you're in the city and you never listen to this kind of music. You still can have a very special moment with it.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions from the audience?
So it was absolutely beautiful. It's really lovely work. A very mean question. Are you saying that you own the kit and what you do in each situation is the content? Or do you have to hire in the kit? I'm just thinking about the cost implications of the project.
Yeah, when we create an instrument, we even have a double of this instrument. So we have, let's say, 50 of those long throw speakers, because sometimes we have to double it. Yes, it's important because it is like an instrument, and we ourselves also do the technology. So we have to do the sound mix on location. Sometimes we adapt the composition. So it's quite flexible, and that makes it feasible to do work like this. Yeah.
Just one more picture.
And they're really nice people to work with, and they start with an idea, and it's not so expensive. they're nice to work with.
Any more questions? Okay.
Hi. You just mentioned that you're looking for artists, but can you maybe explain a little bit more? Because obviously they are the artists of the whole installation and how the sound works. So can you maybe explain a little bit about what you meant looking for artists?
Yeah, well, I see our festival, Oerol Festival, also as a laboratory to develop new art forms. And if there's an artist, a musician, composer, or whatever, even VR can be interesting in a landscape. If there's a question out of that, but the landscape should be more or less a starting point. And so if there's someone with an idea, perhaps in 2 years' time, to start develop something, come to us in a very early stage, because
Okay.
it's not. It's also not about selling, and we have some opportunities which other places don't have. We can really, in a peaceful setting, we can try out things, and then when it works, you can go out in the world. And that's in fact what we did. We worked 3 years on this project to develop it, and then it could travel.
So it was not necessarily meant for to combine with them, or
No,
Okay.
it's in general. It's a general invitation.
okay. Then I'm going to talk to you.
It's okay. It bounces up. Thank you so much. Then we have one more pitch before the break, and then after the break, some more pitches. I want to invite Dominic Gray from Upper North. Dominic. Oh. Dominic. No, don't be in a hurry. It's okay. Ja, is goed. I don't see her. Natalia. His presentation? Just a second.
Maybe somebody else could go now. I can do mine later.
Let me see if someone else is here now. Spring Festival?
We were expecting technical preparation.
Cool. Guy, Coolen and Jorinde? Yeah. Then we'll do Guy and then after the break. Yeah. Oh, okay. He got them. Cool.
Hi, everybody. It's been lovely getting to know you all over these last few days. It's been really, really inspiring. So thanks for your hospitality. I'm just going to do a very quick presentation about what we do at Opera North in the projects team. So I'm director of projects at Opera North. Opera North has a main opera company, main opera house with an orchestra and a chorus and all this. And we're currently doing Parsifal and a Stephen Sondheim musical called A Little Night Music. That's what we're doing with the main stage. And then with my work, I have a smaller space, a 300-seat venue in the centre of Leeds, but also I do a lot of commissioning and site-specific work on a lot of artist development projects and residencies. So I'll start by looking at some of the commissions, site-specific commissions. So this is something we did for Hull City of Culture in 2017. We commissioned Arve Henriksen, Norwegian jazz trumpeter, to write a piece for himself and Jan Bang and the orchestra and chorus of Opera North. And interestingly, thinking about the last piece, they also recorded from inside the Humber Bridge, which is the largest single-span suspension bridge in Europe. So they recorded the sounds of the bridge moving as well. And then for the next picture, oh no, go back to the last one. And what happened, I thought I had another picture here, is people with headphones would walk across the bridge, which is about a 15-minute walk, with triggers built into the bridge to change the sound as you walk into sort of chapters. So if you stop to look at the river and the sunrise or whatever, the music continues. And then when you move on, the track would change because of where you are on the bridge. So this worked really, it was a really beautiful piece. Again, reaching people who wouldn't normally go to listen to either Norwegian jazz trumpeter or an orchestra. So the next one, so then on the back of that, the following year, we were commissioned by the Great Exhibition of the North to make another one of these sound walks, which was along the River Tyne in Newcastle. So you walked across the bridge and then you walked all the way along the river. And I think we've got another image here. Oh no, go back to the last one. And this one was done by a folk musician called Martin Green, who again wrote his piece for himself and for a folk singer, Rachel Unthank, and for the orchestra and chorus of Opera North. So again, you walked along and it triggered as you went. So we were very excited about having done two of these. So we did another one, which was As You Are by Abel Solocho. And there he is. And this is one we did for Leeds City Centre. That's Abel. He's a South African cellist, and he wrote it for South African percussion and for the orchestra and chorus of Opera North, which included teaching our chorus how to sing in a ritualistic South African style, which was a really amazing piece of artist development for us internally. Okay, let's go on. So musical encounters is something we're really interested in. So bringing together music from different cultures and different genres of music. This is Jasdeep Singh Degan, who wrote a piece for sitar and orchestra for us, and he's now artist in residence at Opera North for the next 18 months, working across everything we do, from education through to the way we develop our orchestra and chorus, but also sitting in on management meetings and all the training that we do. And he is, I think Kieran already mentioned this the other day, he's music director on a new production of Monteverdi's 1607 opera Orfeo. So this is being done equal 50-50 between classical Baroque musicians and South Indian classical instruments and singers. And in the autumn, this November, Huddersfield Contemporary Music Festival, and also at the Barbican, we've commissioned the American musician, pop musician, I suppose, Julia Holter, to again using just for our chorus, not with the orchestra, but she's writing a new live score for the 1927 Dreyer film of The Passion of Joan of Arc. So this is a still from The Passion of Joan of Arc, and this is an earlier version of the same project that we did a few years ago. So it'll be a silent movie with the chorus of Opera North. Very similar to something we saw yesterday in the artist studio, those of us who were doing it during lockdown, we commissioned an animation artist called Matthew Robbins to make a film of La Bohème, Act 3 of La Bohème, so 20 minutes of the opera, which we projected onto found spaces in city centres across the north of England, which people could watch with the silent disco headphones. We did a new recording of the opera to do that. That was really popular. So performance, next one, site-specific performance. This is the Latitude Festival in Suffolk, where we took just the final duet from Monteverdi's opera. Back to the last one, from the Coronation of Poppaea. So it's just a very beautiful duet at the end of the opera, where the two lead characters are singing how much they love each other. And what we've discovered, I mean, it's obvious if you know. It's obvious if you know a lot about Baroque music, that the two roles can be sung by two men, a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman. So we rotated the singing of the thing to explore the kind of gender fluidity around that idea. And we took this to this pop festival and played it, did a durational performance over 6 hours at the festival. So people could just come, drop in, listen to 3 rounds of the 5-minute piece and go off. Okay, next image. And this is people enjoying that. This is something we did for the Yorkshire Sculpture Triennial, where we explored what we call the shape of sound. So again, working with our chorus of Opera North, but singing existing music, but going right back to Bird and right the way up to Cage. This is our performing space, the Howard Assembly Room. This is my space, our kind of playground. And we try to explore how to present music in this space in different ways to give audiences more intimate or immersive experiences.
So that's Sekou Keita there, who's a Senegalese kora player, but obviously playing with Western musicians as well. And if you just move forward through a few of these. So we call a lot of what we do, we call it classical 360. So this is taking the classical music and thinking in a 360-degree way about how can you present this so that it's engaging for different audiences and to bring new audiences in. And again, you know, exploring that relationship between the audience and the performer. So this was something we called spiritualized. So it was different performers through the evening playing solo pieces of a kind of spiritual nature, and audiences just cushions and beanbags and being able to do what they want to do. And going on, lovely, lovely. We're also a gig venue, so if you've got, you know, if you're touring and you've got a band and you've got a gig, make contact. We might be able to just give you a gig. If you're touring in the UK, we can come to us for a night. We'll pay you a fee. Artist led. So this is a program we do called Resonance, which is specifically for minority ethnic musicians and music creators who we give a residency to for a week or for 2 weeks. And we give them a little bit of money, we give them space, we give them access to our singers, musicians, technicians, and it's just a playground for them. It's totally artist led. We have no input. So it's an open call. They say what they want to do, and we say, okay, if you get it, you get it. We do 6 of these a year. And the other thing we do is we do a lot of work with the University of Leeds on performance research. So this is a Berlin-based composer called Sam Hertz, who spent a year with us exploring infrasound, which, if you don't know, is the sound that's created by the turning of the earth, but it's below the level that human beings can hear it, but it does affect your mood. So there are places where, with high suicide rates, for example, where this has been tracked down to the influence of infrasound. It's also when people sometimes think that they've had a ghostly experience or a supernatural experience. It's about infrasound. So Sam spent a year exploring something you can't hear. We thought that's quite cool for an opera company. This is Khayyam Alami, who's an Iraqi composer who wrote a piece for the New Music Biennial for us in 2019, which we took to the South Bank and also to Hull. And you can just see, so he wrote a piece again for the string section of our orchestra and for our chorus. It was called Requiem. If you just go on to the next image. So what he did was he creates in sort of microtonality sound. He's an electronic composer as well as an oud player. And he created an installation of, I think it was 20 broken, forgotten, dead oud around the room with speakers inside, and the audience would go inside the circle and listen to this extraordinary music. I think that might be the end. Yeah. Okay.
Dominic, thank you. I forgot my mic. It's quite a lot.
It's busy.
Yeah, you've been busy. Yeah. COVID didn't happen.
We don't do all that much. It's something we've been talking about here is that, you know, the things we do are special, but we don't do a huge amount of it. We don't have the resources to do too much.
There was one thing that you said that for the people that weren't here yesterday and the day before, we spoke a lot also about how to bring new audiences in. And you said that you also look to do that. And I was wondering what in your experience has worked to bring new audiences in?
Well, there's two things. One is go to where people are. So that's, you know, the projecting or the sound walks. If that's where people are walking, if that's, you know, people walk across that bridge because they love the bridge and it's a famous walk. So give them something to listen to while they do the walk, and so go where they are. That's one thing we've learned. But the other thing is absolutely just breaking down the barriers of what a concert hall is or a theatre is, so that people can, I guess, a bit like you would do in an art gallery. The audience is in control of how long they stay with a piece of work. If they really love it, they could stay in front of a Van Gogh for 3 hours just looking at that. But if they've had enough of that and they want to go to something else, they can do that. So it's kind of responding to the way that the kind of timescales, the human timescales, rather than the ones set down in 1820.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then lastly, why are you here? What do you want from them?
I didn't know it was a pitch. I thought
you were just presenting.
I thought we were just saying, look, this is me, this is who I am. But I guess the pitch is, you know, particularly for artists, but also for collaborators and for other commissioners, We're here, as I say, we don't do a lot. We haven't got a huge amount of money. We don't do a lot, but you've seen some of the things that we're interested in. The film music thing, this thing with silent movies and new scores. We're really excited about that. We've done 2 over the last year. One with a jazz musician called Matthew Bourne that we took to the London Jazz Festival, as well as our space, and the other one with a Scottish folk musician called Erland Cooper, who wrote a piece again for our chorus of Opera North and for the 1928 Lillian Gish film called The Wind. So these are the things we're interested in. I'm really interested in site-specific and taking sound into the natural environment. So we'll be chatting, I hope.
Are there any questions? No. Thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank you for sorting that out.
And it's time for... We're going to have a short break now. There's some coffee and tea and cookies, and then I'll be the one standing in the corner yelling when you can all come back again. Thank you. About half an hour. Yeah, maybe less, 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. There will be plenty of time after the presentations to get to know each other even better and to see where you can connect with others. But I would like to continue the presentations because after this, there's time for some speed dating. And in the afternoon, we're all going to see Sun and Sea together. And it would be a pity if we're late. So first up now is Gregory. Okay, I'm going to try and say it. Grzegorz. Yes, from Spring Festival, and he's presenting Asa Horvitz.
Hello, everyone. In the morning when we were sorting ourselves out, I stand on the on this side of the room. But if you will have in the next hours problem with interaction with me, it's not only because I'm introverted, but also because on Saturday I finished my 10 days festival and I'm not recharging, I'm still landing, I think. But anyway, we are here with Asa Horvitz, the artist who is connected with the Spring Festival through the Standplaats project, which is the development platform for the young artists between the organization in Utrecht and Utrecht region. Also something I'm not I'm not doing normally. I have a notes, but my brain is failing me after the festival. And Asa we co-produce the new work of Asa, which is called A Dream That Belongs to No One, which is the further development of his graduation piece from the Das Theater. We met, actually this is important for the next project we will talk about, we met in New York not long before the COVID situation. He told me about a certain project, but he told me also that he's moving to Amsterdam to study at Das. Then he did it, but mostly from his lockdown house. And then out of the blue, I also moved to Netherlands, coincidence. So A Dream That Belongs to No One, the production will premiere at the Headham 24th of June. If you cannot be there, we will present it during the spring and autumn 28 and 29 of October. But I would like to jump now to something which is the next project, but originates earlier, the project called Ghost. Asa has a composer and conductor background. He worked in States and in Europe with artists including Theatre Czar, Scott Gibbons, and Romeo Castellucci, and with his own company, collective called Wells. The project Ghost is a long trajectory work focused on AI in collaboration with AI collectives or the research groups based in NYU and Edinburgh University. It's, in short, the project where the AI is being fed with the different cultural and research content dealing with the issue of death, which will then generate so-called libretto to be interacted with the musicians on stage. I'm about to give you the mic, but still, the collaborators include Carmen Rothwell, which is your friend, but also like collaborate from the very beginning. Wayne Horvitz, artist from the New York scene and from the European scene as well. Yeah, I should shut up at this point. The important thing mentioning Wayne is that this project originates not only from the theoretical interest in this topic, but also from the very personal perspective. And something I'm sure you will forget to add is that beside of the stage work, the idea for the project is also to bring the extended experience for the audience, not only to watch artificial intelligence in action, but also to interact it as a separate part outside the stage situation.
Thank you. Hello. Is it possible to turn down the lights just a tiny bit? No. Okay. It's very bright. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hello. Yes, thank you, Grzegorz, for that introduction. I can say a little bit about the origins of this project. Right before the pandemic happened, kind of everybody on my father's side of the family died very quickly, except for my uncle Wayne, who's also a musician. And I started just thinking a lot about death because we had a lot of family funerals, and it just started adding up. You know, you have a lot of deaths in a couple of years, and you can't really memorialize any individuals anymore. You just kind of, it's like too much stuff. So I wanted to make a system or a kind of game or a way to play with and think about all the material that's left over from the past. And so that we could also think about what is preserved, what is selected from the past, what is chosen from the archive, and who gets to deal with that, and why. So I wanted to kind of make an image that would be a way to deal with a bunch of archives and to process them. And I wanted to interweave that with some very personal stories about death. So it's a very emotional thing with a very structural thing. And I worked with data scientists at the University of Edinburgh to make an AI, an archive, which is basically a bunch of texts that are processed through an AI, and then it generates a voice. They learn how to read from this archive of texts, and then there's a voice that comes out, text that comes out at the end. And we started playing with this archive as a way to make a performance. So we would ask the archive questions, and it generates text, and then we had a group of singers, some singers from New York, some singers from the Netherlands, start to play with this archive of texts and sing the responses. And interwoven with this game of asking questions and the responses were some like very, very personal monologues about death from my family and also from some of the other artists involved. But what became very interesting is that the AI system itself, which is an archive that is processed in some way, is very similar to the way that we deal with death. It's about, you know, how do we choose what we keep from the past? How do we choose what goes away? What traces remain, all these kinds of things. So this became the basis of the performance. Is this super confusing? Are people following? It's okay? AI, okay, good, great. Sometimes it's hard to explain AI because we think of like a robot or Terminator, but that's not what language processing is. It's actually an archive that is processed in some way and then outputs come out. And the performance also includes a kind of visual installation with some, let's say, similar systems from history, from the Jewish tradition, also from other world traditions of dealing with archives, basically, and dealing with the remnants of the past, as well as some assemblages of physical materials from some people who have died. But the idea is not to memorialize any specific person, but really to make a space in which spectators can freely associate about death and kind of drift and dream, but also think about how we deal with the past and what gets selected and what doesn't, because that's really the big question behind mass death, let's say. It's really who gets to tell the story and why. Those are some things. I thought I would show you this a little bit. We were in residence at the Single in November, and we did a sort of first development there. And this is a very draft version of an interface, but then like people were coming and spectators were asking questions, and then we would sing the responses. And the style, the kind of style that we sing the music in, it mirrors the structure of the AI. So it has a lot of layers of influence, but I would say the main layers of influence are like medieval music, basically. That's where I come from originally. And then like basically contemporary experimental music. So there's really not an opera-trained voice in this, but there's very much a close attention to pitch, to sound, to sensitivity of listening, and to how we deal with the text. And I would say also that we really don't, when we sing the text, it's really about looking at it and encountering it alongside the audience. So we're also encountering this material. It's not about like, hey, we give voice to the AI. It's really not personifying at all. It's using this as a way to encounter some remnants and kind of sit together with this thing. So I'm going to put in a question here and you can see what happens a little bit. Right now I'm choosing how certain I want the AI system to be and how many words it's gonna put out. It says, are they the ones who left the river or who died of thirst? The mystery of life and the life of the world is a living thing. It is the unknown between us and us. We wanted to be black. On which King Jesus gave us this name now, to the new and noble death we consider to be the unknown of the world. This is the crest that we call the planet of heaven and the sea. Some of us come out of the world, etc., etc., etc. And we select as we go, we select certain text. We make different choices as we sing. And then I can show you maybe a couple of images. So this is like a diagram of the AI system. This is from the visual installation that goes around the project. This is a list of like a sample set of training data. So the texts that have been selected to use. And it really, of course, it entirely depends on the texts. And one of the ideas that we've been playing with is inviting spectators to also choose the texts that we use to train the system, which can be quite interesting because then people really contribute to this archive and then see us deal with it in some way. These are some, assemblages that my cousin made of dead family members' materials that are part of the visual installation, the visual setup of the performance. Then there's some images from kind of similar systems of knowledge. Like this is an Orthodox Jewish tree. This is Abby Warburg's Atlas. Walter Benjamin's fragments. A page from the Talmud, and an image that the AI system has generated on its own. So these sort of come around the performance as an associative logic. And one thing I should also say is that, there's really this family component to the project. I never worked with my family members before. My uncle is a very well-known jazz pianist, Wayne Horvitz, and we've never worked together. This is the first time, and we wanted to really put something extremely personal and emotional next to something very structural, to kind of try to let's say, seed this emotional landscape, but then also give people a lot of space to freely associate and to kind of be with their own associations. I think that's kind of a very basic overview. I didn't want to, I can play you a lot of stuff. I didn't want to share anything in this particular setup because so many of the samples sound so different from each other because there's many approaches we take, but I can share many samples with you. We have hours and hours of recordings. I don't have a sound setup right here, right now.
From what I heard so far, it's from the polyphonic medieval different traditions, including sacred harp, which you were associated with or researching, through the electronic to the jazz and popular music.
And
but it's still quite wide. So if you could share something with whoever is interested, or maybe if there's any place online we can.
Yes, I can send you links. Also, I think it's important to say that it's really not a pastiche or like a bunch of different styles, but it's really like the AI text itself. It's kind of a singular voice. And I can share something with you. But maybe the last thing to say is that what we're looking for,
Yeah.
also, yes, is that
Definitely.
we have, we've had support from the Goethe Institute Hong Kong, from the Single. We had a bit of support from AI Now through the Prada Foundation in Milan. And now we're putting a co-production together to premiere next spring.
Yeah, basically the Spring Festival is a quite small one, but we work with the artist who has a big visions. So we need the partners to make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you. I was wondering, especially also seeing a piece from the Talmud, it's all in English, right? So this cannot be integrated in the AI.
No, the AI can work in any language.
Yeah.
We've done it in German. We've tried it in Italian. We then would, of course, have to work with different singers.
Yeah. But can you also
But
just
yes.
mix languages?
You could train the AI on a mix of data sets from different languages, and it would produce a mixture of languages, yes.
Yeah, because I think that would be interesting too.
Yes.
You know.
For sure, that's feasible.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? What? There you go.
The text is coming out now, but how are you composing them? Are they improvising? Where is the composition time for the work?
The approach is like idiomatic improvisation. So we work for a long, long time with the text. And we have different approaches that we kind of know, like different zones, I would say, different styles that we approach it with. But the actual reaction is improvised, of course. So it's, yeah.
And does it have to?
Yeah.
Bloody box. Does it have to be all about death? Like, what if you want to put a question in that isn't? What if I don't want to discuss death?
Totally fine. People, like when we were at the Single, people put in questions like, does so-and-so still love me? Or what's for dinner tomorrow? And I think that range of emotional response is really key, because some of the things are quite heavy and quite related to like personal stories. And then also that people can play a little bit is very important. So there's really, no, it doesn't have to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? No. Well, in that case, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then next up is Guy Coolen from O Festival presenting Jorinde Keesmaat.
Hello, this is Jorinde. I'm going to ask questions to Jorinde in a minute, but I want to present also a project that the Dutch Performing Arts has. It's called Fast Forward, and it's a great program. I'm not going to sell it to you because you cannot apply, but I'm just telling you that it's a great initiative from the Dutch government. There's a panel of about 8 to 10 people from different disciplines. They're festival directors and people who are in the field. And every year we gather a few times, and we are bringing to the foreground artists that we think are important for already in Holland, but can use a little bit of help to get an international partnerships. And it's also the time that they can get to investigate where they are in the middle of their career. Now in the middle of their career, it was started as a mid-career thing, but we now get to younger artists. But the main thing is that it's for artists who already have established themselves in Holland and can use a bit the push to or want to change what they're doing and have the time to go and look elsewhere. And we try to connect them to partners abroad. And it's been running for a few years, so the artist cannot apply. So it's the people who bring names to the table. We defend these people to each other. For me, it's also interesting because I'm there for the music theater field, of course, but They bring in artists from pop, from circus, and it's also been nice to meet these people, and it influenced also projects. There's two phases. The first phase is that they can go out to visit different festivals and different groups, and then they locate where they want to work with. That's the first phase where they can take a year or whatever. And then the next phase, when they found a partner abroad, they can get up to 100,000 euros, and that they don't have to make anything for it. It's just time to investigate in your partnership and to develop your work. And I think it's very important that these things exist. And it's been very fruitful for a lot of the artists. And one of the artists that's in this program is Jorinde. So that was my first question, because you are been doing this for, well, because of pandemic, it's been a bit longer than expected, but you went to the States, and I want to hear your story. What's happened?
Yes. Well, is it working? Another one. This one works, yes. Thank you for the invitation, Guy. But I received actually twice the Fast Forward grant. And the only one. Anyway, it has been a big treat for me as an artist to be able to really connect to a foreign company, to a foreign producer and foreign stages. I think as an artist you need a bond, you need partnerships, and you actually need long relationships in what we do. And within these long relationships, we are able to really explore who we are and what we want to do and what we want to say. So I was able to go to connect to the Center for Contemporary Opera in New York. And I created there 3 operas, or actually I directed 3 operas. And for example, I created also Anna is Nin by Louis Andriessen. And the great thing is that I could bring people from Belgium and from the Netherlands to the States and also present it there. And also it came back to the OL Festival and also to Muziekgebouw Het Ei. So you really are connecting in a very deeper way, in a more intense way. And because it's also not connected to only create new pieces, but also to explore, to connect, to do workshops, and to really think about who you are. And because it's a stretch of 3 years, and now it's even a bit longer, of course, I'm also connected to National Sawdust. I'm also an artist residence there, and they have a beautiful artist residence a traject, what this really works. So you connect to a lot of composers who you can invite here to the Netherlands or to Belgium. And it's also something very interesting to be a mid-career artist, that that there's the only opportunity in the Netherlands to do this and to grow, and that's needed, I think.
Well, we can send you the list of artists that are in this program, because as I said, you cannot apply for it, but I just wanted to share it because I think it's a good idea that a lot of other countries should take over, because it's a really useful thing that to give artists the time to work on their, in the middle of their career or whatever. That's because otherwise it's like pushing, and it's for you. I think it was very helpful.
Yes, I got an enormous network out of it, and I'm working now with the Crossing, a chorus from Philadelphia. They come here now to the Netherlands. I mean, it's really worth it even more to do this, and especially coming from this very tiny country, we can do so much, and I'm super grateful for this. Yeah.
And Annemiek, you were here. Are you here? She just left.
Great.
Okay. Annemiek is Jochem's colleague from the Holland Festival, but she's in this panel, and she will be joining Dutch Performing Arts to take care of the international. So she's leaving Jochem, but she's very well. So people like her who have an enormous network there for the artists, and that's the nice thing, that it's not that we have to look at applications. It's just a generous way of dealing with the artist. So that's one. Then Jorinde was directing our opening production, the World's Wife, and I would like you to tell a little bit about that. It was a big success.
Can I just? Sorry,
yes,
I'm just.
Why not?
Yeah, I just had a question
Yeah.
about. You said you cannot apply.
No.
Then how does it work?
Well, that's what I said. That on the panel.
Talk to Annemiek.
No. I mean, for every discipline, there's somebody at the table, and we bring
Mhm.
this, and we have to defend the artists to each other, and we make a list. And every year, there are about 5 to 10 artists that can do it. There's a 4-year grant for the, and but it's in the 2 phases. So it's sometimes people say it's not right in my career now. So that's the nice thing. We ask artists. Are you interested? Because not all the artists are interested to go abroad. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
But of course, we feel now that a lot of the Dutch artists are also opening up to the world more and trying to find connections.
Yeah, but you said it was the second time for you. So I can also imagine that, broadening, like, how do you get to know?
Well, but it was second time, but it was also because of COVID that you got a little bit extra, but it's not the idea. The idea is that you get it but once you have the money, you can say, I want to work for 3-4 years. So it's your own decision what you do.
Yeah.
It's not meant to make projects. It's just for development, and you can take colleagues with you. But it's the idea is to have a long-term.
To have some space to develop.
To think and to have a long-term relationship like you do with the States now.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yes.
Tell us something about
The World's Wife. We have some pictures, and later on we'll show you a trailer. The World's Wife is a chamber opera based on beautiful poetry of Carol Ann Duffy and music by Tom W. Green, and is actually an initiative of the Ragazza String Quartet. Years ago, I was asked by the Ragazza String Quartet to direct this chamber opera for string quartet and soprano. And it just premiered on Friday, so I feel also a bit connected to this, of course, very much. But it's really about the poetry itself is actually a collection of poetry about women behind famous men. And Carol Ann really did something really great to kind of change their perspective. So they are not victims, they're not victimized, but she really turned those stories into ownership. And I think ownership is very important to me personally, in the dialogue about the unheard voice, like women. So it is actually a collection of 10 poems. It's a song cycle. And I've tried to really think of an entry for each woman. And I think that kind of happened. You see Lucia Lucas there, on there, and then the string quartet, because the original was by was composed for a soprano, and I said to the string quartet, to the Ragazza String Quartet, you know what, I'm not really interested to do this in this way, and I thought it's much more interesting to replace the soprano for a transgender performer, and to see what we can do from that perspective, because it is all about finding our own voice, finding the female vocabulary. And what I did is, you actually mentioned Lucia to me, and I phoned her and I said, are you interested to do this project? And the great thing is she is baritone. So I could really choose from when to use her baritone voice and her head voice. So that really, really was very interesting to choose. And Tom Green, of course, had to agree on this. So we really reworked it all. The other thing is also what I find very important in this performance is we have our heritage, we have the myths, we have a history, we have all that, and all those stories are on our shoulders. And the question is, who do we are now? You know, like Lucia Lucas is my heroine who actually chose and followed her own voice. She moved from the States to Germany to go into transition. And doing that and having that braveness was a big example for this production for me. And in this production, I really wanted to show the complete perspective of human beings, not how we should behave as a woman, but we can be beast, we can be everything, but I think our beast side is not shown enough. So that was great because I could work with Lucia on every perspective on that, and she went for it. She went all the way, and the original idea is actually for me that I wanted to plant myself, I wanted to plant us, I wanted to plant the unheard voice. So there is a lot of soil involved, planting, watering, throwing soil into the air. And on the end of it all, I thought, yes, and what now? We've shown all this beautiful women in this great poetry of Carol Ann Duffy, but where are we standing now? Who am I? And am I actually free? What about the unheard voices? So what I've done is collected interviews with all the performers for the end, and we created a new epilogue from the performers standing just in their underwear, like this is who I am, and take it or leave it. And that was, I think, very strong. So we could kind of go away of the victimized voice, where I think we should really plant ourselves, water ourselves, and grow ourselves. And that's something very important to me. So maybe I could, we could show the video of it.
Yes, well, it was amazing. The Ragazze Quartet is also amazing, and Lucia is fantastic. If you don't know, find out, because she's a count.
She is something, yes. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'm very interested also in working with instrumentalists, and they are like at the same, how you say, level as a singer, of course. So the quartet was just really amazing. They played everything by heart. It was live with looping stations, and they became a character too. They were really telling the story with the 5 of them. So that, I mean, with great respect to them, it's really, really amazing. The other thing is that they also manipulate the set themselves. So it's a complete standalone performance, what I think is also very nice, what I do more often with orchestras or in productions. And for now, we had this wonderful premiere on Friday, and it's also co-produced by the Barbican in London and the What You See Festival in Utrecht. And it would be just amazing that we find more places to play. So that is actually why we're here, and to get more out of this, because I think this production, I've created it, but of course it needs much more, a much bigger and larger audience.
It already looks amazing on in this 1-minute video. So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? Over there. You're gonna catch. It's okay. I saw you standing
Thank
up.
you so much.
Check if it's on.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, it's
Caroline.
on. Yeah.
I have a question about the instrumentalists, the musicians,
Yes.
the Ragazzi Quartet.
Yeah.
What was their training? Were they trained as classical musicians? I mean, it's quite amazing that they actually take on actor roles and things. I mean,
Yes.
where are they from?
They are from the Netherlands and they're classical trained,
Right.
but I think they're the most expert. Yeah, they're really into adventures. They have been directed quite a lot. So for me, it was easy. I know them for quite a time already.
Right.
And the only thing I said, besides changing the soprano role into a transgender role, I said, have to know it by heart. That's for me the thing. And of course, it was very difficult.
Mm.
But I mean, we did a workshop in November, and then of course it was still with iPads. And I said, it's just I cannot do it like this, because it needs to be. I mean, needs to be involved, and because I'm a very physical. I make very physical performances, and I really push the border, and also for them, And of course, we were in rehearsal room with that soil for I don't know. 2 weeks, so the instruments were like having already like a cover of the soil,
dust.
and it was like everywhere.
Okay.
So they were almost deciding to play on their outdoor instruments. They didn't, but yeah, they are badass. They're really amazing, and yeah.
Did they have then a physical theatre training of some sort before they came to you, before they worked with you?
Not really, but
Not really.
but they have done a lot of theater productions, and they have a very natural presence. So that's something I don't even have to work on.
Right. Yeah.
And that is such a treat.
That's amazing.
That is,
actually.
yeah, it is. It is really amazing.
Because most musicians won't do that. I mean, a lot of musicians will resist.
Yeah.
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 So write down their names.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Oh my God. Good catch.
Yeah, I've been a keeper, so.
Okay.
Maybe to continue on the whole aspect of working with musicians, has there been a very big difference for you working with the ragazzi in comparison working with an orchestra who has never done, any physical acting? Maybe you can tell something about your experience in that. And I was curious what the futures bring. Is there any new project you're working on?
Yeah, many. But let's go back to the most important question. I think is it is a complete difference when you work with orchestras. Orchestras are very ambitious nowadays. They want a lot, but the question is, are they ready for it? But are they ready from the core, from the musician itself, not from marketing or whatever? And I work a lot with orchestras, and it's very hard. But you need to. I think it's a balance of trust. It's a balance of doing it, of taking them by the hand. It's also setting goals, like, what can you do in a certain amount of time? There are many aspects in this. I work with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and they are very flexible, but other orchestras are not. But I'm always super proud of them because they go out of their comfort zone, and I think that's very important. And it's step by step. You cannot change or something immediately. And I think I have a good eye and ear who is in front of me, and they are my material, right? So I push Lucia over a certain border. I push the quartet over a certain border because it's interesting, because you lose a certain way of dealing with music. You know, it becomes an embodiment of music. And I think that's very important for me personally. And also how we can approach music nowadays. The other thing is, yes, I'm doing a lot of other projects. I'm working now with The Crossing with David T. Little. I'm creating a big piece with Philip Glass. I'm doing a Cozy van Toete. I'm doing a Castor and Pollux, and nothing is really hardly is anything in the Netherlands. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we have 2 more presentations to go, and then we're going to have a break again. Joop Rietvelt from Boulevard Festival presenting Selma Selman. Can I have an applause? No? Maybe the other one with the line?
Check.
Yeah, cool.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. I'm Joop Rietvelt, and I'm here alone. So I'm going to keep it a bit short. Selma was supposed to be here, but she's ill, unfortunately. So I'm going to be here alone. Just before I enter the pitch, as I said, I'm Joop Rietvelt. I'm an arts worker. I'm a feminist and a houseman without a family, and much more. And I also work in the performing arts industry as Joel. I just want to acknowledge the sensitivities that are in this room, especially when it comes to pitching from an artist point of view to programmers, but also any other kind of sensitivities that are currently in the performance art industry. But I'm pretty sure the O Festival, as well as this scene here, is safe enough to break down these imbalances that there are when it comes to power structures. I think that's a very relevant talk that we should have that's currently on. Before I definitely am finally entering the pitch about the festival as well as Selma's work, I just want to break it open and ask you, what are the connotations that come into your mind when you hear the word audiences? So what comes up in your mind and it's just a bit of a personal as well as a festival research, but when you hear audiences, what kind of words do you have in your mind?
So who wants to
Maybe,
answer?
yeah, thanks for the help. I appreciate that.
Okay, then I'm going to appoint someone. Okay, cool.
There's one, yeah.
Yeah, you're holding your...
There's nothing wrong, by the way, with any answer, so there's no mistakes made, but yeah.
Lifeblood.
Nice, I like that. Anyone else?
Yeah, throw it back to me and I'll get it there. Anyone else?
I think of people from diverse backgrounds and generational.
Nice. Maybe one more. Do we have time? Just for a last one?
Okay.
Active partners.
Active partners. Yeah, that's a nice one too when we talk about artworks. I work for Festival Boulevard, and it's a festival that has been there for 37 years now, in a city called Den Bosch, not about an hour away from here, in the region of North Brabant. We are a summer festival in August, hosting about 140,000 visitors a year pre-COVID times. So we have a lot of audiences in our festival, and audiences is a big focus for us. But not just because there's many, but also because we're trying to develop different formats in how we invite audiences to be active, to be a part, to be a participant, to be creative. And I think that, these different roles that audiences could have, I talk about audiences in a plural way, hence the different roles, of course, is what Festival Boulevard makes it for me quite special, because there's many different formats of how artists are involved in, let's say, community processes and there's also a little movie, I think, if it's ready there. Yeah, we can just show it right now. We can turn off the sound if that's possible, so I can just keep talking. But there's a main festival center, as you can see from there. There's big shows, small shows. The whole city is involved, and we host about 120 productions every festival in these 11 days of the festival. Genre-wise, it's quite mixed. Everything's contemporary, but there is music theater, also dance, and also theater, including music theater. And all the the whole city is involved. The whole city is taken over by the festival. That's something I want to tell about Boulevard, particularly. Program-wise, we like I said, there's about 120 productions. This year we have work from many different artists, a bit older, like established artists like Dries Verhoeven and Boukje Zwijgman. Also Joseph Tunga from the UK, dance maker, is coming. And next to this, we host younger artists like spoken word activist Lisette Maneza, who's quite also involved in including music into her spoken word activism. So it's great for you to get to know her work as well. But I'm going to introduce to you an artist named Selma Selman. And we got to know her only a year ago through the Creative Europe Network Feminist Futures. And she is now living in Amsterdam. Before that, she was living in, she's Bosnian with a Roma descent. And she's coming from, she studied in Budapest as well as in New York. Selma couldn't be here, so it makes it a bit weird to share words of her work while she's not here, to talk about her while she's not here. But I'm just going to give it a bit of an excerpt, or let's say, I'm going to tell you why we are motivated to work with her. Selma uses her own personal archive, let's say her personal cultural background into her work. And one of the performances that she made is, maybe we can scroll down a little on the website, if that's possible. That's not a work she made. Ah, there it is. And if we scroll down on the website, there's a work that's called Mercedes Matrix. It's a performance. And she's using the economical crisis, especially happening in Bosnia-Herzegovina, as an example, including her family archive, to break down a Mercedes, a complete Mercedes. It's coming right now. No, the next one it is actually. There should be a picture there. Anyway, here's the... there it is. The performance is basically that she and her brothers are breaking down a Mercedes. And it's not just, not just a visual image of her breaking down a Mercedes that's relative towards her work, but also the fact that she's bringing her brothers, as this becomes an economical model for her family. They're from a Roma background. So this whole picture of how she makes work is part of the work itself, which is quite interesting for us. From there, from breaking down the car, she extinguishes a certain metal, platinum, and from the platinum she makes little X's, and these platinum X's are quite valuable. So she's making from a very big car a very small jewelry X, which is then also an artwork in itself. Just to scroll up a bit, you can see the next one a bit more up. You can see the X, the platinum X. That's the one. So that comes from a Mercedes. This year we've asked her to develop something in between performative as well as visual art. She's going to use her voice in it, and it will premiere at Boulevard from 4th to 14th of August. There's not so much known yet about the work because she'll make it quite on the spot, which is also how she works. But she will be at Boulevard, and I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now, because I find it a bit, like I said, awkward to talk about her work while she's not here. But I'm open to receive questions also about the festival, of course. So that's about it, I think, for me.
Luckily, I heard you because I was out of the room for a second. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Can I ask you then about...
Kees had a question.
Okay.
Can you tell something about the music element of this project?
Yeah, I deliberately choose an artist that was not necessarily labeled as a music theater artist. She's coming from more of a visual art background. I wouldn't say there's so much music in there. However, I mean, she wouldn't recognize herself as a music theater artist, but within the breaking down of the Mercedes, there's a hell of a lot of sounds going in there. And that's why I wanted to bring it in. Not necessarily because she's a music theater artist, but also because we as Boulevard from the festival, we want to widen up the genres a little bit and not just focus on specific genres. She is a very interesting artist, and that's why we work with her. Yeah.
Yeah, she could maybe also cross over with and work with other artists.
Exactly, there's collaborations there involved. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you so much.
You.
I know I told you that there was going to be one more presentation, but it's actually two because one has been added. I would like to now invite Kate Wyatt presenting Royal Opera London.
Does this one work? Great. Hi, I'm Kate. I am representing the Royal Opera House in London, which is obviously a huge organisation with a very big stage. My remit there is to work with the smaller stage. So we have a 400-seater stage called the Limbury Theatre, which used to be a kind of rehearsal space, a black box, terrible acoustic. And then we closed it for a couple of years and it's been made into a very beautiful new space, which is kind of like the little sister of the big stage. I say big stage, not main stage. And my remit is not only to program produce work for that stage, but also to look at diversity and talent development, to look at partnership working and collaboration, and to kind of look at what the future of the form is. So we try and do work in there because it's an intimate theatre. We ask the question kind of what can it do that bigger stages can't do? So how can it be a place for sort of more risk and more experimentation? Where can it engage with audiences and connect with audiences? And it was really interesting listening to the person just spoken, sorry, I've totally forgot your name, from the Boulevard Festival. Audiences is a place that we also start. We're really interested in audiences, and that's kind of, for us, how can it be a place to introduce audiences to opera, to music theatre, but to different art forms, and where can it be a place to introduce opera to different ways of thinking? So I suppose that's how we think. I have two videos, and I'll talk a bit more about how we work in a second, but I wanted to just show the first one, which is, yeah.
There was a girl, she wore a hood so red. On her head was so red, mother said, take his bread. Off she said, when she met, oh no! Wolfish child.
So that was our Christmas show last year, and it just won an award not in an opera category, which is quite a big deal if you're an opera house. And we commissioned this after the pandemic, because obviously everyone's programming went out the window. And we'd been working with Little Bulb, who are the devising theatre company, for a couple of years, doing lots of R&D, kind of helping them explore what opera is and what could it be for them. And I suppose the reason I wanted to share this is partly this was designed for family audiences. And it demonstrates how we work, which is we take longer kind of time to build relationships with artists. So if we're commissioning work, then we want to understand how opera can speak to them and how they can explore the form in their through their art form. So for Little Bulb, who are a devising theatre company, they spent a lot of time in our space. They came and watched lots of stuff. They had some time playing with kind of classical singers so they could play with their voice and understand what voices could do. They met our kind of our props and costume teams, and they watched kind of archive videos. They had a lot of time with us, paid and supported time, I think it's important to say. And we had been planning something else entirely. It was meant to happen during the pandemic. And then I kind of rang them and went, so do you fancy doing a Christmas show instead and just starting again? So in about 9 months, we made a show, which for opera, again, when you're a big house, is a really short amount of time. We are premiering our work in 3 months' time, actually in 2 months' time, that we've spent 6 years making. So we work on kind of quite weird timescales quite often. But again, that's partly about how it's devised. I suppose the thing to know that might be useful to know is we aren't just commissioners. We do commission work, but we also receive work. So we are a producing house and a receiving house. So we are looking for work. And the beauty of being the Royal Opera House is that we really want to use it as an international platform. We are an international house. So quite often the work that we present is not from the UK. We might work with UK artists to develop work. We also work with international artists, but we also want to present international work. And the Limbury stage is one of the very few stages in the UK that can present kind of more intimate opera work. Yeah. we do about within a season, because we share the stage with ballet. So within a season, we do between 4 and 6 productions, some of which are produced and commissioned, some of which are co-produced. We regularly work with co-producers and partners, massively into collaboration. So that's really important to us. And then some of it is received work. So we've worked with Guy and Transparent, and we're premiering a piece next year with Hans from Lod. So it's being premiered this year and we're taking it next year. So we work in quite a lot of ways, and we're really open to new ways of working as well. We're not fixed in how we think. Yeah, I think the final thing I wanted to share was, it's 90 seconds, so bear with if you don't want all of it, but this will explain a kind of another part of work that we do, which is about art form innovation and art form development, which is really for me that question of how does every generation get to imagine opera and make it a form that works for them, both as audiences and as artists. So that for me, I think, and this is a specific thought of mine, I guess, but how do we stop kind of protecting the form that is traditional opera and traditional repertoire and enable it to be taken apart and stop being so kind of reverent with it? But this is, we made a hyper reality opera. And it was meant to take place during the pandemic, and obviously didn't. And it has to be in person, obviously, because it's virtual reality. And the reason it's hyper reality is because actually, as an audience member, you move around a set. So you're wearing virtual goggles, but you're also walking around a space, and things happen in that space. So, for example, we had rumble boards under some of the stage. We had wind machines. So as you're in a virtual space, you're experiencing physical things happening to you. And it was funded by research. Basically, it was a piece of research. How do you make opera work in this way? So this gives you a bit of information. Hopefully we've got time for all of it, and if not, come and talk to me about it and I can show it to you.
Current Rising is the world's first opera created specifically for hyperreality.
Well, hyperreality is virtual reality plus. So we take the standard virtual reality headset, and you have a backpack computer, which gives you sort of the best possible visual quality that you can get at this point in time. And then we add to that. So firstly, you have multi-users. You also have a physical space that's dedicated to the experience. As you move around in virtual reality, you're physically moving around in real space.
So we're opening Current Rising in the Royal Opera House on the Limbury stage. So the audience enter the theatre, go onto the stage and start their experience there.
This is my first experience in virtual reality. I just knew that I would be impressed and immersed.
We're so into it that it just felt very, very real.
It was exciting, it was mesmerizing, I just loved it.
I thought it was exhilarating, sometimes deeply meditative. It's like nothing I've seen before.
It's completely unlike anything I've ever felt or heard. I mean, it's poetic, it's meditative, it's totally all-consuming and beautiful.
And I was just going to say the interesting thing for me in my role as my title's creative producer, whatever that might mean, was working with the artistic team to develop this, because you couldn't think about it in the way that you standardly think about creating opera. So we were kind of asking, well, what comes first? Does the text come first? Does the music come first? The director had a very clear vision about what she wanted to do. Nisha Jones was directing. The composer was Sam Fernando, who's a young, brilliant composer who I love working with. She thinks quite holistically. And what we realized was you had to start with the technology. Like, there was literally no other way into it. So you had to start with technology. And then that asked a whole load of questions, because we've never really done it that way. So we had a lot of failure in this project. It took a long time. We failed a lot, a lot before we got to this. So I think that's really worth saying as well. Happy to talk about failures as much as I am about successes. So yeah. Any question?
Thank you so much, Kay. Can you please come stand in the light? Stay here.
I don't like standing on the stage. That's why I do the backstage stuff.
So are there any questions from this audience? you spoke a little bit about risk. What's the biggest risk you've taken? I mean, dealing with failure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I'm one of the questions I get asked about a lot in the organisation around risk is to do with who we choose to work with and who we want to work with. And there's this idea that working with artists that haven't made opera before or are from different cultural backgrounds or from different lived experiences is somehow a greater risk. And I just don't believe that. I think for me, every artist takes risk in everything they do because it's an incredibly personal thing and you're sort of putting yourself out there.
Mhm.
So I think for me, it's about supporting people to take risk and encouraging it. And that's about knowing that failure is okay. And that I'm interested in how do we make a sector that actually supports failure in a way so that people aren't so scared to take greater risk.
Oh, that's beautiful. Right? Thank you. Yeah, we tend to always point to all the successes that we have in life. Well, to get to a place of success, I think you need to fail hard. Next up is Cathie Boyd from Sonica presenting Cathie Hind. Yeah, that's okay.
I'll be really quick. I just want to say that I've worked, I'm artistic director of Cryptic based in Glasgow, and I feel very fortunate to work with many Dutch companies and artists, not just Rob van Rijswijk, but also the Ragazza Quartet when they won, when they had a fast forward. They are an incredible string quartet and they often play from memory, but I also want to thank the Dutch Performing Arts for the support that they give to artists like that, because it is quite unusual. Many years ago in the UK, we had Nesta Fellowships, but sadly the new UK does not have that luxury anymore. Some people in this room will know this artist, Cathie Hind, but I don't think the Dutch know her. And the reason I've sort of jumped in was especially hearing Yes from Oriole Festival talking. Cathie is a composer and visual artist who works a lot with nature and technology. And yes, she's won the Ivor Novella, the BASCA British Composer Award for Sonic Arts. But what's extraordinary about her is that how she actually designs instruments herself. And the work that I want to show you is something we just premiered 2 months ago, which is currently showing in Mexico. Can we just go to the next? This is based on Antoine Brumel's Earthquake Mass, 15th century mass, and she recorded the staccato ensemble in Mexico and then re-recorded the voices back through buildings in Mexico which had earthquake damage. So she went around literally 15th century buildings and played it back through. So each vinyl has a solo voice. You can go up a bit. And it's taking live data from earthquake readings, and she actually is taking this from the 2015 massive earthquake. And it's all in a circle. When you're saying, why am I here? I'm here because we will tour this in Europe, 23, 24. We're keeping it in Mexico for the rest of the year because it's going to a number of festivals. But I was thinking of the fact she works a lot outdoors with sonic projects. And that was, I think, if you don't know her work, you definitely should. Yeah. And then I haven't let the whole thing play. I appreciate you're all really hungry. And then the other thing where I'll go on to is, and this was actually in partnership with the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, who are extraordinary. For those artists in the room who don't know Sonica, it's a little festival we run in Glasgow, biannual, 10 days. And we have presented a lot of Dutch artists. So we're just going to play a short video, but if people don't want to watch it, they can go and have lunch. I don't want to feel but this is just from the last festival for everyone who could not join us in Glasgow.
really the sound pierces your body. You can really feel it when you're in that room. You can feel almost the airwaves that you're imagining going between them.
It's so important because it's new sensory experiences, playing with technology in new ways, but mostly experientially. It's just when I go and see something here, I'll see something I've never seen before. I'll hear something I never heard before. I'll even taste something never tasted before.
It's phenomenal. It kept me on actually the edge of my seat is possibly right. The whole thing kept building and building and building. I was so moved.
I really enjoy kind of the merge of art and science.
It made me forget myself in a public space. You know, you're coming here to see something a bit different.
I enjoyed the interactive element of that.
It's like blend of it being very highly technical, but it's also very accessible, and it's also addressing matters that we can all like relate to.
It's quite kind of at the edge of what art can do.
Really curious about how it was done.
So inventive, so powerful and so interesting, very much engaging.
I was amazed. I was pulled over. I was really like emotionally invested in that, and actually, I don't know. I did actually cry a little bit during it. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it.
Just a whole new experience for me.
I thought it was really fun and very sort of transformative.
I think it's very good for us when we are living in Scotland and we can see a lot of different artists from all over the world.
Sonica as a festival is a really great opportunity for Glasgow and Scotland in general to have some really cutting edge and innovative art.
There's nothing else like Sonica in Glasgow. There's nothing else that really focuses on audiovisual, sound, art. You know, there's nothing that combines them the way that Sonica does. You know, you've got a lot of art in the city, you've got a lot of art festivals, but there's none that are quite like Sonica.
You know, you'd see kids running into it and really like dipping their fingers in the pond of the creative arts, so it's really beautiful to see that, and I think there should be more Sonica in everyone's lives.
We don't have many festivals in Glasgow.
Music festivals. Anyway, sorry.
Thank you. Lunch is at 1, so we have a minute. If anybody has a question, then I have a question for you all. Well, I'm going to start with you. What is your biggest takeaway that you have from seeing all these different presentations?
Yeah, a really rich. Sorry, I didn't.
You're
expect it.
overwhelmed?
I'm a little bit overwhelmed, and yeah, I'd like to speak with some people a bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for that in a minute. And I'll get to you. What was your biggest takeaway?
Quite a number of things. I mean, naming one is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, then give me 3.
It's my first time here, and I am really inspired by the presentations. I mean, in general, it's really nice to have such input, and me as a maker, I get all inspired. Mm-hmm. I'm also really happy to see all these different institutions doing such wonderful things. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's
a good one. Is there anyone else who wants to share something about their... Did you nod or not? No. Well, my biggest takeaway, some of you already know because I told them yesterday and the day before, but I'm not from the music theater scene at all. So to me, everything was new. But I really enjoyed all the presentations, and especially also seeing how all these different things can come together. For instance, the VR experience and how you can work with AI and at the same time still push it on a musical level to be of high standard. So it's not just someone playing around with VR, but it being so much more and so immersive. And my wish for you all is that you connect well to each other, that you find an even broader audience. And then who knows, maybe my mama someday might even put on a VR glass and listen to opera. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to have lunch at 1 o'clock or maybe a little bit sooner. And after lunch, I have a list and I will be calling out your names to put you into separate groups. And those groups then will walk together to Ferro to watch and listen to Sun and Sea. You will get a map with different routes to get there. And then you can, with your group, you can choose the way you want to walk. It's not that far away. I'm going to start calling out groups at 2 o'clock, I think. But that will also give you some time to just walk around and not be on your phone, but look at the map that's printed out and look at the area to see what's happening here in Rotterdam. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks.